I have two quick questions. One concerning fibroids and the other one concerning bioidentical hormones. So, with the fibroids, if you have fibroids, I was told just by chance that I had fibroids many years ago, but they've never bothered me. I've never had any issues. When I did have my menses, I never had heavy periods or pain or anything like that. It was like a piece of cakewalk. But fast forward, now that I'm older, I'm wondering if there are any foods that I can eliminate that would help get rid of the not thyroid, the fibroids, or do I just, if they're not bothering me, don't worry about it? I'm just trying to figure out if there are things that I can put in place to maybe get rid of them. I don't know if they ever turn cancerous later on or whatever. I don't really know. So that's question one. And then question two had to do with the bioidentical hormones. I am postmenopausal, but I never had any symptoms, no hot flashes or anything like that. I keep waiting to see if they're coming. And so I'm in my 60s now, and my friends are saying, if you haven't gotten hot flashes now, you're probably not going to get them. So, but I am concerned about heart health and bone health because I do have osteoporosis. So if there's anything that you can recommend along those lines, that would also be helpful. I am plant-based. I try to incorporate tofu and edamame when I can, but I don't eat it every day. But I eat loads of beans and salads every day, and I make my own salad dressing, and you know.
Sounds great. Sounds great. You're doing amazingly. And well done. I think, you're obviously really taken charge of your health. That's great. So there was a lot to think about in what you said. And again, without giving out personalized medical advice, I would say to you that given that you're in your 60s, I don't think you particularly need to worry about shrinking your fibroids actively, because the chances are they may have already shrunk themselves, given the fact that you've already gone through menopause. I don't know if you've recently had an ultrasound. I don't know what size they were originally, whether there's a way of comparing the size that they are now to the size that they were when you were diagnosed. But for many women, they do begin to shrink after menopause anyway. And you don't need to worry about them becoming cancerous. It's just not something that tends to happen. Many women are sort of fearful when they're diagnosed with fibroids that it's a form of cancer. It's not. And it's not likely to proceed in any way towards cancer. So that's great. I understand your concern about heart health and bone health. Now, obviously, you're eating a healthy plant-based diet, so you're doing all the things that you can to improve your heart health. Bone health wise, I think it's important to make sure that you go for good amounts of calcium and vitamin D, and also weight-bearing exercise to help improve your bone strength. And as I mentioned before, soy is great for that too. So if there's a way for you to incorporate soy products daily, then perhaps you could do that. Weight-bearing exercise, and also resistance training. So I know that many people in their 60s are not particularly confident with the idea of the gym. I don't belong to a gym, but I do think that especially as we reach later years, we're going to have to really focus on maintaining muscle mass. And vitamin D helps us to maintain muscle mass, and so does resistance training. So you could even use your own body weight, simple Pilates or yoga, or even just getting cans of beans or whatever you've got in your kitchen and lifting them. Things like this will actually be helpful for improving bone mineral density and muscle mass as you get older. The question around hormones and HRT, I suspect that given that you went through menopause, it sounds like more than 10 years ago, the window of opportunity for improving your bone mineral density has likely already passed when it comes to taking HRT supplementation. Osteoporosis guidelines suggest starting it around the time of menopause if that's what you're aiming to do. So the bone mineral density loss that you have experienced around menopause has already occurred. And given that you don't have any other symptoms or problems, it may be that HRT is not something that you particularly need to concern yourself with at this stage, given that you're having a healthy plant-based diet. But you can discuss this with your own doctor, who can perhaps do some separate research into whether there are any potential advantages for your heart or bone health moving forward, given your age and general healthy lifestyle.
Thanks very, very much for this, Dr. Newman. And let's bring in Ruth now. Welcome, Ruth.
All right, Ruth. Oh, hi.
Hi, Ruth.
Hi. I'm sorry. I tuned in very late. I'm going to have to re-listen to your whole talk, but I just turned it on about 5 minutes ago, and I don't know if you can answer these questions that I didn't get answered last night. With regard to soaking beans, when it comes to buying beans in the cans, like their BPA-free cans, do we have to soak those beans?
No, they're usually pre-cooked. So you'd probably just want to rinse those. You can rinse those. Maybe it's helpful to rinse them because it can reduce bloating. So yeah, just rinse them and I think you're good to go.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. And now we're going to bring in Ainsley. Welcome, Ainsley. Oh no, Ainsley, we're having our volume issue again. Are you able to get right to that? Ainsley, so we're not hearing you, but I know you can find a way to fix that. So I'll call on you in another few minutes if we can. And so let's now go to Mike. Hang on, Mike. Hi, Mike. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben. And Dr. Newman, thank you very much for this talk. I was hoping to get a little bit of advice. I have a holistic doctor that I use, and I resist taking any medications. The one medication that she would like me to be on would be the NP thyroid. And that's basically only because my TSH is a little bit elevated, 5.79. All of my other markers are good. My free T3, my others, I track things very well. So I hesitate to take the NP thyroid because I used to, as well as the Levoxrin. And the only thing that really benefited was my TSH came down. Now, it would be remiss for me not to mention, I do have some of the Hashimoto's. It's moderate at 175 for the TPO and a 6.7 for the thyroid globulin. So I feel like I'm fretting and chasing, trying to get the TSH and my Hashimoto's really low. I take no other medications. I'm plant-based. I'm healthy. I don't have any of the Hashimoto's symptoms per se. So I'm chasing a number. My doctor's chasing a number that I don't know that I should be hyper vigilant on these things. So I'm just hoping to get a little bit of advice. And one last note, I was hoping that if you had a way to let me change my text synthesis for your voice, because it's very sexy, I would be interested in having that module.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. I think it's difficult for me to give you advice on your own personal medical history, but I think if you're generally well and you're not experiencing any thyroid symptoms, then it's essentially your call. It's always going to be your call. A doctor can never give advice based on the scientific literature. And it sounds as though your doctor thinks that it would be helpful for you to take a little bit of supplementation. I guess one way to find out whether it's helpful or not is to try it and see how you feel and check your blood markers and then see if you notice any changes to your overall energy, your mood, the temperature that you're feeling, whether you're suffering from any hair loss or whether you notice any changes with regard to your weight. And then you can make an informed decision.
I'm so sorry. I muted myself. Thank you very much for that, doctor. And
that's all right. It's easily done. I do it to myself all the time.
Oh my gosh. Self-sabotage. Let's now go to Chris. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, doctor. Thank you so much for all your very sage advice. I have tested going on Hashimoto's again. I test positive for Hashimoto's, and I've been borderline hypothyroid. They've been following it for 20 years. I'm not on any medication, but I was wondering if there's any hints or any advice you can give for the plant-based approach that can get rid of it. Is there any way, whereas once you have it, you always have it, or is there any way that those levels can go down so you no longer have it? I know they said it's kind of like an inherited thing, but I don't know what advice you might have. If there's a possibility, have you ever seen people who have tested positive for the Hashimoto's to have it disappear?
So yes, you can definitely monitor it, and you can find people who have symptoms and signs and raised TPO, and then over time and with lifestyle changes, those things can be improved. TPO levels can go down, symptoms can be improved, or even reversed sometimes. But I think my general advice would be the same as what I've said in the talk already when it comes to lifestyle, is optimizing the things that you can control. And that's all that you can really do. So having a diet that's rich in all the things that are going to keep you healthy, fruits, veggies, whole grains, legumes, the soy products that I mentioned are helpful. But when it comes to thyroid health, you do have to be aware to make sure you have enough iodine, enough selenium, enough zinc, enough iron, and all the other nutrients that we talked about, making sure that you move your body, making sure that you prioritize sleep, making sure that you reduce stress in your life, and also making sure not to stress out too much over all the lifestyle changes, because it's important not to be too hard on yourself. I think often excess stress can itself be detrimental to overall health. So find things that you enjoy doing, focus your time and energy on healthy foods, but also healthy connections with other people. Aim to make social plans that make you feel good. If you're feeling overwhelmed or that things are not as you would like them to be in your life, then maybe just take stock of that and make some changes. And once you have done that and you're feeling good, check your levels and just do the best that you can. You may find that you will need to have thyroid supplementation, and that's okay. Most important thing is to just do all the things that you can control and let go of all of the rest.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Newman. And let's try Ainsley again. Hang on, Ainsley. Hi, Ainsley.
Hi, morning, everyone. Morning, doctor. You all are hearing me now?
We are, thank you.
Yes, hearing you. Morning.
Good. Ainsley from Trinidad. Question, doctor. You said in your slide, unprocessed soy. I need a little clarification on that. Unprocessed soy. You also spoke about turmeric, but isn't saffron threads king versus the turmeric because of that bright orange, golden pigments we get? And oh gosh, I can't remember the other question. Just those two. The unprocessed soy, I'm a little lost on that. Is it the soya bean you're talking about to avoid? And is saffron threads king?
Okay, so basically a minimally processed soy means so unprocessed soy would be the maybe the edamame bean, and then minimally processed soy would be tempeh, for example, and things like miso paste, which is fermented soybeans, are great. And soy milk, depending on which brand you go for, is another minimally processed soy option. When a lot of people have soy in a more processed form when it comes to replacement meat products, and that's what I'm talking about, the difference between. Not to demonize replacement meat products, they have a place and many people enjoy them, but they are more processed and therefore they will have some less of some of the health benefits than minimally processed soy, which would be, as I said before, things like tempeh or tofu. And unprocessed would be things like the edamame bean itself. And yeah, that's about it. And when it comes to saffron, yes, that would be a wonderfully beneficial thing to include in your diet. It's quite expensive and difficult to get hold of for a lot of people. So I tend not to include it in my slide deck, but it's a great thing, and I would encourage you to enjoy it. And turmeric, I'm not sure if I heard you correctly. You were asking me about the difference perhaps between curcumin and turmeric. I'm not sure, but that curcumin is one of the active compounds within turmeric, which has been studied in many trials and shown to have therapeutic benefits. But I think I would personally suggest using turmeric because there are probably lots of compounds within it that we haven't studied that also have synergistic effects and can improve health.
Thanks very, very much for that, Dr. Newman. And let's go now to Alejandro. Welcome.
Hi, Dr. Newman. Thank you for your time with us. And also, I find your way of talking quite soothing. Also, I really appreciate the way that you answer questions, and that's really, really cool to see. My first question is, do you have any information or something that you could expand further on the use of zinc, vitamin D, quercetin, in protecting the immune system against spike proteins?
Yes. So there have been studies to show that zinc is particularly useful for that purpose. And vitamin D, again, yes, there have been studies to show that that's been very helpful for reducing potential problems with COVID. What else? I think I read about quercetin, which is from things like onions and garlic being useful as well. Coenzyme Q10 has been shown potentially to be therapeutically useful. So there's a few things that could be helpful. It would be nice to have a bit more data, but I'd say a general healthy lifestyle is always good to support the immune system. And sleep, again, I don't know if I touched on this in the talk, but our natural killer cells can start to grow and multiply during sleep. And that's why when we're ill, we tend to want to sleep more. But yeah, do not underestimate the power of sleep to help the immune system as well, especially if you're feeling a little bit under the weather.